Just before I get your response, I want to play you something from the debate tonight. I think this could be put in the category of, thanks, Kelly Loeffler. I think we got the message. Let's have a look.
Radical liberal Raphael Warnock, radical liberal Raphael Warnock, radical liberal Raphael Warnock, radical liberal Raphael Warnock, radical liberal Raphael Warnock.
So, to my count, she said it about 14 times, and I actually stepped out for a few minutes.
Should members of Congress be barred from trading stocks?
Look, what's at stake here in this election is the American dream. That's what's under attack. When they attack me for a lie, a left-wing media lie, conspired with the Democrats by, this is an attack on every single Georgian who gets up every day to work hard to provide a better life for their family, who wants to live the American dream. It's a distraction from the real issues, not the conspiracies in this election. What's at stake is the future of our country, our freedoms to live the American dream, to not be taxed into bankruptcy, to not have to go onto government health care, government-run health care. They want to take away the health care that 180 million Americans rely on through their work. That's why I've introduced a health care plan to make it more affordable, not government-run health care that would bankrupt those that rely on Medicare. And I'm going to continue to fight to keep our country free, to keep our borders secure, and make sure that our communities are safe and secure.
Senator Loeffler, when you received the private briefing regarding the coronavirus pandemic, you dumped millions of dollars of stock in order to protect your own investments. And then weeks later, when there came an opportunity to give ordinary Georgians an extra $600 of relief, you said you saw no need and called it counterproductive. Why do you think it's counterproductive to help ordinary Georgians in the middle of a pandemic?
Well, thank you for that question, because I've been completely exonerated. Those are lies perpetrated by the left-wing media and Democrats to distract from their radical agenda. Reverend Warnock, in your writings and your teachings, you've repeatedly praised Marxism and the redistribution of income. Can you here and now, for all Georgians, renounce socialism and Marxism?
Listen, I believe in our free enterprise system. And my dad was a small business owner. And during the Great Recession, you know what I was doing? I was leading my church to build a community center where, among other things, we had a financial literacy center that taught people how to repair their credit, create a 700 credit score community, how to create a business, how to buy a home, how to participate in our free enterprise system. Kelly Loeffler, on the other hand, was teaching the big banks how to hide their investments offshore in the Cayman Islands. This is how she spent her career before she went to the Senate. This is what she's been focused on now that she's in the Senate. She was only there 3 weeks. I'm not sure she was fully unpacked when she started dumping millions of dollars of stock trying to protect herself. And she purchased that seat. It's done well for her. The issue is that the people who sold it to her don't own it. And the people of Georgia are coming back to get their seat.
When you have even Fox News hosts making fun of you for going too heavy on the whole radical liberal thing, you should probably dial it back a bit. This is Kelly Loeffler during a debate with Reverend Raphael Warnock, where she was not only content to string together as many Fox News buzzwords as she could muster, but to do so in what might have been the single most robotic performance by a sentient human being I've ever seen. If a person could have negative charisma, that's how you describe Kelly Loeffler. And yet for all of her attacks, what's most ironic is that Loeffler likely has the worst optics of anyone in the United States Senate. And that's a group that Ted Cruz is a part of. She was asked point blank whether members of the Senate should be barred from trading stocks, which became especially significant after it was revealed that she dumped millions of dollars worth of stocks after a senator's only coronavirus briefing on January 24th. And yet instead of responding to the question, she goes on a long-winded diatribe, first just blindly claiming that the left is lying and then complaining about taxes and government-run healthcare and secure borders. It's like she was only programmed with 4 or 5 canned lines, and regardless of what question she was asked, she's physically incapable of not pivoting back to one of her preset responses. But what's most ironic is that while Loeffler clearly understands the importance of money, when she's asked by Warnock why she called the extra $600 in unemployment insurance that Democrats were pushing for, quote, counterproductive, she once again fell back onto the same old talking point that Democrats are lying. Except for the fact that on July 22nd, with 378,000 Georgians unemployed, Kelly Loeffler said, quote, from what I'm hearing, I'm not seeing a big need to extend the federal unemployment insurance. Again, this is a woman who used the pandemic to cash out on millions worth of stocks, and yet she couldn't figure out what the, quote, big need was for a few $100s for people who had lost their jobs in the middle of this pandemic. Maybe she'd have been more inclined to see the, quote, big need if unemployment insurance was paid out in dividends. I mean, Kelly Loeffler is so programmed to regurgitate the same fear-porn buzzwords, she got to the point where she didn't even bother trying to form coherent sentences anymore, opting instead to just string together a smattering of scary words that Republicans use to fearmonger.
The radical agenda of the abortion on demand that Democrats want, that attacks our Second Amendment rights. They want to take away our guns. They want to tax guns, and they want to fundamentally change America, and radical liberal Raphael Warnock is their agent of change.
This seriously looks like the beta version of some new AI where they tried to replicate human language using only the words found in Fox News headlines. She managed to fit in abortion, Second Amendment, gun, tax, and radical liberal all in less than 20 seconds. It would honestly be impressive if it wasn't so pathetic. But probably the most devastating part of this debate is when Loeffler was asked point blank whether she believed the election was rigged.
Senator, did you believe the election was rigged?
Look, Greg, it's very clear that there were issues in this election. There are 250 investigations open, including an investigation into one of my opponent's organizations, for voter fraud. And we have to make sure that Georgians trust this process because of what's at stake in this election. The promise that Chuck Schumer made was to fundamentally change America, and I'm making sure that we don't go down the road of socialism.
And she basically says that it was rigged, meaning that her official position is that Georgia has rigged elections, but that people should still go out and vote for her in a Georgia election. That's how beholden these people are to a failed, one-term president who lost his race, that they would endanger their own political careers and pretend that there's widespread fraud and quite literally undermine trust and suppress turnout in the election that they themselves are currently running in. When I say that this is a cult of personality for Trump, this is exactly what I mean. The simple fact is that Kelly Loeffler isn't out for the people of Georgia, she's out for herself and Donald Trump and the far-right Fox News bubble that she's pandering to. So she'll continue to serve other millionaires like herself, she'll continue to pad her bank account, all while continuing to question the need for a few bucks for the people who've lost their jobs thanks to the pandemic that her party's leader failed to contain. I can't tell if these people are more greedy or incompetent, but either way, it does nothing to help the people she's supposed to be serving. If you like this video, please check out my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I take a deep dive into the week's most important stories and interview major players in politics, including Kamala Harris, Katie Porter, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Eric Swalwell, Mary Trump, Al Franken, Cory Booker, and many, many more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.